Hey everyone, today I want to talk to you about improving your product demos. My goal today is to give you a framework that's simple and easy to implement. And what it's going to do is grossly improve your demo to opportunity conversion rate. So if you're someone who has to demo products or features to clients and customers, this video is for you. So to start, I want to talk about 3 really common demo frameworks that I see in use today, and then talk to you about what's broken and some of the constraints of those frameworks. So what's the first demo framework we're going to talk about? Show up and throw up. Now, for those of you who are seasoned professionals, you're probably laughing a whole bunch saying, who still does that? There's a lot of this still going on today. And I typically see the show up and throw up happening with 3 groups of people. The first group, founders. Now, founders, listen, I love you. However, a lot of you really suck at product demos. And there's good reason for it. Many of you aren't sales professionals. And truthfully, you built this thing, you think it's really cool, and what you want to do is share that with the world. So what happens? You get a customer on a call and you spend 100% of the time telling them about all the cool features your thing does. And you get off that call with zero understanding of the problem your customer's trying to solve. It is lose-lose. The second group of people that tend to do this are early stage sales professionals. When you're just getting into sales and you join a company, a lot of company onboarding is really focused on getting you up to speed with the product. So those first few customer calls you jump on, your head is just polluted with information. And because you haven't really figured out how to frame a conversation the right way, you have a tendency to just vomit information all over the customer. Now, this can be fixed really easily with great coaching. However, the bigger problem I see is that most new sales professionals aren't getting any coaching. Their boss is looking at how many calls you made a day, how many emails you sent a day, and there's way less focus on actually making that salesperson more effective. Sales leaders, if you're listening, do better. The third group who tends to show up and throw up, technical subject matter experts. Now, there's not a lot of people who nerd out more about the product than the technical subject matter expert. Now, they're normally attending a call with a sales rep. And what will happen is the sales rep hands the call over to the SME and the SME just starts. Because again, the SME is really excited about what the product's capable of doing. And what the sales rep ends up doing is trying to interrupt the SME every now and then to break the conversation up and ask some questions and potentially do a little bit of discovery. Still really common problem I see in a ton of demos. The second framework, which was a great evolution from show up and throw up, is demo call, discovery call. Now this is where the sales team wised up and said, hey, we need to put some guardrails around our demos. We've got 150 product features. We don't know what's really relevant to the customer, so we should really be doing discovery before we demo the product. Sounds like a wonderful plan. So here's the concept. We're gonna have a call with the customer. We'll spend 15 to 20 minutes qualifying some of the pain and problems the customer has. What this also lets us do is qualify whether there's an opportunity there. Then what we'll do is set a follow-up call where we'll demo. This is where we're going to invite the technical SME, use all the information we gathered in the discovery, and we'll have a really well-curated demo that stays within the guardrails. Now, this is all well and good unless you're the customer. The thing that's changed over the last few years is 80% of the buyer's journey is now happening before they even engage with your sales team, which means by the time the customer reaches out and asks for a demo, they've done most of the research to determine whether or not this is a product that's going to fit their needs, which also means when they request a demo, they want to see a demo. I probably had this happen 15 times in the last year. Go onto a company website, fill out the request a demo form, and the first meeting that shows up in my calendar is a 15-minute discovery call. I didn't book a discovery call. I booked a demo. And then the sales rep will either call you or send you an email and say, hey, we want to start with a discovery call. This is going to help us better frame the conversation, make sure there's a good fit for the product. But at the end of the day, as a customer, it's still wasting my time. So just show me the damn product. So now sales organizations are wising up, going the customer journey's happening without us. When a customer calls and asks for a demo, just give them a demo. And this is where the third framework shows up. Discovery and demo. This is where the sales teams now combine the discovery process and the demo process into a single call. Now, this requires a really well-prepared salesperson because what they're going to do is learn about the customer, and then on the fly, they're going to adjust their demo to be tailored to the pain points they've identified. Sounds great. And really great salespeople who know their product inside and out, they excel at this. But there's a catch. You jump on the call with the customer and you frame the conversation up something like this. Hey, so-and-so, we're gonna spend the first 15 minutes of this call doing a little bit of discovery, and then the second half of this call, what we're gonna do is demo the product for you. Does that sound okay? And 95% of customers are cool with that. The problem here is that you're front loading all the information gathering. And then in the second half of the call, you have to try to weave a tapestry that connects all of those pain points back to your product features. So all of a sudden, the second half of the call starts sounding a lot like vomit. And the further you separate understanding the pain from being able to communicate how you solve that pain, the easier it is for those two things to become disconnected. Now, that's one of the more common frameworks I see day to day with product companies. So let's talk about how we can evolve discovery and demo into a new framework that's going to increase opportunity conversion and make the conversation way more relevant with your customer. And the demo framework I'm talking about is called ID2, which stands for Insight, Discovery, and Demo. Now, what's unique about Insight, Discovery, Demo is the insight part. And how we frame this demo model is relatively simple. Before we demonstrate any feature of the product, we're going to provide an insight that's relevant to the customer. Based on the feedback from the customer on that insight, we'll either continue to do discovery or we will abandon that and move on to a new area. This is going to help us create the guardrails during the conversation, which means the conversation is going to flow more fluidly. The other thing that insight provides is it allows us as a sales professional to lead the witness. This is really big for two reasons. The first is it widens the customer's focus. It gets them thinking about things they might not have previously, and it helps them identify pain they may not know they had. The second benefit is we use insight to frame the demo into our winning zone. What does that mean? Well, your product's probably got a ton of features, some of which are great, some of which are mediocre, and the rest are crap. As a sales professional, we can use insight to frame that conversation into our winning zone. Now let's frame this in the traditional sense of discovery. Let's say the customer's thinking about 3 major pain points. So we jump into discovery, we're asking questions, and we uncover the first one. Now let's say that pain point falls into either our mediocre feature set or our crap feature set. And we know our competitor kills us on those features. Guess what? I don't want to talk about that. By just doing discovery, we allow a conversation to evolve that's outside of our control. And that's a dangerous place to be unless you make the greatest product ever. Here's a hint. You don't, so don't leave it to chance. By using insight, we now actually point the conversation in a specific direction. And the insight we provide leads the conversation and leads the witness into our winning zone. If the customer's response to that is that it's not relevant, this tells us we have to find a different area that's in our winning zone to lock this customer in. So how does this look in practice? Conversation rolls something like this. In speaking with a couple of the senior leaders at Company A, Company B, and Company C, they shared that over the last 6 months, they saw a massive reduction in e-commerce conversion rates due to X, Y, and Z problem. Is this something that's also impacting your conversion? Now, what I've done is frame the conversation in a direction, and now I'm offering the customer an opportunity to respond. And that usually goes one of two ways. The customer is usually going to tell you that that's relevant or irrelevant to their business. Now, after providing that insight, if the customer shared with you that that's irrelevant, you know to move on and take that out of your value proposition. There's no point in wasting paper, email, or further phone calls trying to pitch the customer on a feature that they don't care about. Then you continue. You provide another insight. Now let's say the insight you provide does resonate with this customer and has identified an area that they weren't thinking about. This is where you can now dive into discovery. And once you've qualified the problem and the pain the customer is experiencing, you can move immediately into the demo and show how your product solves for this. And what we've done is connect those two things immediately. We're not asking up front and talking about it 15 minutes later. We're able to prove it right there. Now, there's one other massive benefit to doing Insight Discovery Demo in the natural flow of conversation. How many of you have had a senior leader or stakeholder at your customer on the call who had to leave 15 minutes early? All of you should be nodding your head right now. It's a really common thing. Now, if I focus the front half of the call on discovery and the second half of the call on how I solve for all those problems, and the stakeholders had to jump off early, man, well, that sucks. The same thing happens if your stakeholder has to jump on late. Another really common thing for senior executives. So now they've missed all the discovery and they show up to the call to just hear you vomiting about your product. By being able to implement ID2 in a conversational way, a senior stakeholder who jumps on halfway through the meeting still gets an opportunity to hear pain and the value your product can provide. And now that senior executive can actually be part of the conversation. That's a huge benefit. Do yourself a favor and move to ID2. The more you practice this framework, the better you get at providing relevant insights that apply to your winning zone. The advantage here as well is you're also framing whether or not this opportunity has got legs. If after providing all your winning zone insights, it turns out the customer needs a product that plays in your crap zone, time to cut and run. And it's time for you to refocus your energy on an opportunity you actually have a chance of winning. So the call to action, sales leaders, sit down with your teams and define your winning zone. Take that information and build out the insights you're going to use to help lead the witness during these conversations. And for all you sales folks out there, if your leader isn't doing this with you, do it for yourself. Remember, you are in control of your outcomes. If you have any questions on implementing this framework in your business, just leave me a message in the comments below. Always happy to help out.